real sure about the Alamo, and then it changes to the paper covering his face, then he brings it down so you realize he's looking at the flyer, it's too slim. And I used my own characters for this, so that's why they're all elves. So I figured, change the setting, make them elves, that's funny. He's like, no sir, it just don't seem right. And then he sits down where we can see the other two. There's Joey playing on his little squeeze box. I'm not gonna use it. And Woody tinkering around with the clock. And he's like, what don't seem right? And here we focus mostly on Too Slim, but we have, you know, Joey still playing in the background. He's like, Miss Marm's planning to take a trip across the prairie, and, you know, he's worried about them. Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. He's still tinkering around, not listening at all. He's just like, what are you doing? And he shows him a modified clock. It's his time-saving clock. It looks like it could have been a normal alarm clock, but like he made a bunch of modifications to it, like levers and weird dials and such. So here he looks all, you know, very proud of his contraption. He's like, most clocks just tell time. So it's like, yeah, that is their purpose, Woody. So he's not at all impressed. But here he's explaining his clock. Now you can have more time. You know, we just see different views since all they're doing is really sitting and talking. We see different views from, you know, the side, from the back. And then this is when Joey plays his little evil scientist tune. You know, he's like, thank you very much. You know, a sarcastic look over him. He's just mad because no one's paying attention to how worried he is. You know, a dramatic angle as he stands up to be like, Woody Paul, you remember what happened last time, right? You know, the mood gets darker, everything gets gray as he gets worried as he remembers the modulated trans-temporal gateway. So he's reminded of that, and he stops fiddling around with his contraption because he feels bad. So he's like, oh, what are you going to do about it? I don't rightly know. He's like, why don't you ask Ranger Doug? And that's when we see him taking the double take to see Ranger Doug's arriving on his horse. He gets a really cool entrance. It's like, you know, a dramatic zoom in with speed lines and like awesome music playing in the background, wind blowing in his hair because he's Ranger Doug. So he approaches, you know, Too Slim hops off the balcony. He's like, you know, oh, you know, how you doing, Turbo? He's like, oh, you know, sweaty, the flies are biting, but other than that, no complaints. And for some reason, no one is weirded out about a talking horse, but they're elves, so I guess it's
this
okay.
is a cartoon. It's okay.
Yeah. So,
it's mandatory even.
Just like Stewie.
Yeah, just a really quick take right here. It's Ranger Doug. You know, it zooms in real fast on Too Slim. It's just a quick Ranger Doug on his face. And he holds up the flyer, and Ranger Doug says, have you seen this? He's like, I sure have, my Krusty saddle companion. And then, you know, Woody's sneaking up on here, like, is he calling you Krusty or your saddle Krusty? It's just like, whatever, ignores. And here is where Ranger Doug begins his big speech. And for the most part, while he's saying his entire speech, it focuses on him. You know, a shaft of light comes down, and he has a dramatic pose, face to the heavens. And at the very end, when he's talking about the secret stuff, Ranger Doug, please, it zooms out to the urgency that Too Slim is trying to get across. And that's where we end.
You like this one too?
Yeah, it's very
I love it.
Yeah. I like the light at the end. That kind of reminds me of Touched by an Angel. And there's doves going to fly any second or something like that. You know?
The light quality is really good. It's like
I think you're right.
far away.
I agree with you. There's some that stand out better than others, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, that one real close in there, is it Woody Paul? Right there. Really stands out because you boosted the lines on that one. That would be something to think about for a lot of it.
Okay.
I really like how you use the elf anime style for the western parts.
Perfect.
And I like how you use the lightings and the angles to create the mood and the comedy and everything else.
They create a little more drama.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the shadows, like you said, about reminding what happened the last time they did it, you see how gray things get. And of course, she makes it dramatic, what deepens the lines to concentrate on the character when he was reminded of that previous times. And then you see the angle of Ranger Doug when he enters in. And then there's a little comedy there with the sarcasm and Woody Paul and everything.
Real quick, in terms of storyboard terminology, of course, images with, of course, two figures on it would be considered a two-shot. You know, of course, you know what a close-up is or a super close-up. The angled shots that Brienne did beautifully in here, you know, Ranger Doug's first appearance and all that, those are called canted shots. Okay, because the camera's put on an angled, canted shot. A fine example where that was used, and you'd only seen it in repeats. I saw it when it was first on. I was a big fan of the show, the original Batman television series. Adam West. And anytime you saw the bad guys are on angles, they're bad. You know, of course, Batman. He was a good guy. He was always featured straight up and down. Really hokey TV show. I remember, of course, the famous drama of Apollo 13 happening, something before your age, but they made the movie about it. And I remember, because of the emergency happened on whatever that Tuesday night or something like that, it preempted Batman, and I was all mad.
Did you see that episode where Batman is running through the city with the bomb? He's got
Probably.
He's got the giant bomb above his
Well, they did a lot of those things where Batman would just be running in front of the camera like this.
Everyone in the city's looking at him like,
Well, he is Batman.
yeah, because he's got a giant bomb above his head. That one with Joker. Joker pointing the bomb in the city.
Occasionally, Brienne, the one thing I like, be a little stickler about is I would like you to think about, well, maybe a little bit more background to it.
Yeah.
A couple of the frames, really, there's just vacancy behind it that could just have a simple horizon line,
Okay.
just enough information to put us in a place. That's about all.
'Cause I wasn't quite sure what to do for those.
When in doubt, always put some. By the way, when we look at films, is that hiccup or?
Yes. It's random.
It's an interjection.
When you look at films, quite often you'll see the backgrounds a lot often are very muted shapes, but that has to do with camera, focal plane problems, things like that they can't get around. But it's very seldom do we have people in that white soupy in milk kind of thing. So, good. Okay. Take it down, put another one up.